there are books to give away.
We're live. We're live.
All right, I will say that again. It's LibertyCon weekend. We're at a Baen Road show. We have books to give away. Woo! All right, so I will say welcome to our live stream audience. Welcome to our live audience. Yay! We have already started giving books away. People who are on the live stream, you are SOL. Sorry. We do give away books every month via the Baen newsletter. So if you're not already signed up for the Baen newsletter, why not sign up for the damn Baen newsletter? Sorry, this is usually PG-13. I'm just apologize to everybody out in the ether. So they can bleep me out later if they need to. All right, let's get the show on the road. Woo! Woo! All right, yeah, keep on. I have no idea what that is.
It's some weird link thing.
Okay, I don't know why that link is there. But all right, so one of the things that I like to do at LibertyCon is surprise authors with covers that they haven't seen yet. And I can't do that because Fantasy was a few weeks ago.
Although Larry's face when you surprised them, that was priceless.
That was fun. What I have here is a new version of the logo that you guys are going to start to see on book covers. As you will see, it's a lot like the old version of the logo. I love this logo. But we tarted it up a little bit. So here's the silver version, and Lydia, if I can get you to.
Some people are saying having a little bit of trouble hearing, so just project as much as you can.
All right, where is the mic over there?
Yeah, on the
All right.
webcam.
Let me move. Here we go. Good. Maybe they didn't hear me cuss. So.
I heard that clearly.
All right. So new version of the logo. Dominic Harmon, who's one of our cover artists, has been working on these with us, and so these are going to start appearing on the covers in summer 22. You guys saw it first.
Where did you find him?
Dominic Harmon?
Yeah.
God, we've been working with. The first cover that Baen published from Dominic Harmon came, I think it's a piece of stock art, and it was in the 90s, I think, when both he and I were small children. So
Precocious.
Indeed we are. You're going to see a lot of Dominic's work as a cover artist in here. He's a British artist and very. There is no genre that I have thrown at him that he has not been able to just knock out of the park. So new versions of the logo. Okay. Baen.com. We have a website. You guys know that, right? Let's go to the website. Okay. Newsletter. We have the newsletter. Everybody sign up for the newsletter. You know, because when the internet crashes, we'll still have your email. We'll be able to find you. We have a podcast, which is now actually a video podcast. I don't know what the fuck. We're just going to keep calling it a podcast because that's as many new words as I can handle. So we have a podcast every week, Friday afternoons. You can subscribe to it at iTunes and all the regular podcast places. We have a YouTube channel, and you can find it there. It's like a convention panel where we talk to artists and authors wives, and sometimes we bring in the dog. So yeah. Okay, keep going. Yes. New address for the bar. Everybody good with that? Everybody good with the bar? Yes. Okay. We made one teeny tiny change when we moved the bar over there, and that is to keep the hoi polloi out. We said Baen's bar is for Baen's readers and Baen's authors. If you don't actually have an account at Baen.com and have bought a book from us, you don't get to post it. So now you don't have to buy a lot of books. In fact, you don't even have to buy any books. You can put some money into the Baen's bar tip jar, and then you will be allowed to post at Baen.com. But if you don't have any skin in the game, we don't need you. So here we go. Audiobooks. You guys like audiobooks?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you make audiobooks of all the books that you publish, or just how do you pick and choose that?
We don't make any audiobooks.
Oh,
What we do is we sell the subrights to the audiobooks to audio publishers who specialize in this because they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Anybody who's seen the production values on our podcast knows this. So yes, Audible is a big buyer of Baen books, recorded books, and Trantor are also, between the three of them, I think pretty much all of our approximately 1,000 current active backlist are under contract, if not actual audiobooks yet.
So if a fan wanted to know when an audiobook of an upcoming book would be out, you just
We
say
have
eventually?
no idea, they never tell us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we also don't have any influence over the narrator. You guys, however, do. You can talk to the audio publishers and say, hey, we would like this narrator for this series, or these people, this guy did another series that I like and I think would be perfect for this series, and they will listen to you. So, yeah. Keep going. Libraries, yay!
Yay!
Any librarians in the audience other than Heather? Yeah. Yeah, we love libraries. We have our books in libraries. We have our ebooks in libraries, and we want people to read them. If you find your book in a library, post a review somewhere. Pay attention. Thank you, Brett. All right. On to the show. Let's see. How many aspiring writers in the audience? Yes. Yes.
I don't know if I'm aspiring anymore.
Are you perspiring? Perspiring.
Expiring.
Expiring, yeah. Well, we'll take any kind of hiring authors. Yeah, well, we have many ways for new authors to reach us, and our short story contests are one of them. How many people here have submitted a story to one of our contests? Good. The rest of you guys have raised your hands. Come on. The contests are judged blindly, which is not to say that we don't. We
I planned a bunch of braille readers for that.
we do, yeah, we have. It's a highly specialized skill. That's big bucks there, big bucks, let me tell you. Now, what we do is we strip off the name of the author, so we don't know who has written the story. We are judging simply the quality of the story. That's it. And that's how we choose the winners every year of our Baen Fantasy Adventure Award and the Jim Baen Memorial Award. The Baen Fantasy Adventure Award is for fantasy. Very good, very good. The Jim Baen Memorial Award is for not stories about Jim Baen. Okay. All right, let's keep going. Yeah. As it happens, the last winner, the most recent winner of the Baen Fantasy Adventure Award is G. Scott Huggins. Yay, Scott. Well done. And the winner of the Baen Memorial Award is. Yeah. I guess we like his stuff. I did want to notice that for the fantasy award, he's wearing a T-shirt, probably from Brad.
Girl Genius.
Yes, Girl Genius T-shirt. And for the science fiction award, he's wearing a suit and tie. So make of that what you will. So yes, judge blindly. What can we say? Here we go. All right, on to the book. Yay! Yay! We got a lot to go through. We do some ebook originals. Steve Miller. Steve White. Steve White. Sorry, Steve. I've only been working with you for like 40 years now. Yeah. Keep going. We do publish. We don't publish books by other companies, but we sell ebooks from other companies. Keep going. Lydia Miller. They do some of their. Not exactly canon Liaden stories. They publish them themselves. You can still find them at Baen.com and get those as ebooks from us.
Constellation.
Yeah. Yes, Constellation 5 is coming out too. I don't have a cover for that yet. I don't have the ER yet. So there's a related story to the Kane Riordan novels that we're publishing at Baen. They're coming out from Chris Kennedy. You can get the ebooks at Baen as well. Keep going. Yeah, speaking of which.
Oh, Charles.
Yep. Yes. Chuck Yank, who's a former LibertyCon Toastmaster. We have a theory about that. We all remember that. He writes amazing science fiction, and this is his Nebula-nominated series. Let's keep going. That's not all he writes. And here he is writing in John Ringo's Black Tide Rising universe. Yes. This is the second book in that series. And it is a 2-book duology, it's not a 2-book trilogy. Because it started out.
Words.
It started out as a novella. I did want to mention that there has been a crowdfunded Black Tide Rising. I'm not supposed to call them comic books, graphic novels. Yes, I'm old. Yeah, that's been fully funded, is in production, and we should be. I've seen, I don't know, I've seen about a quarter of the pages so far. Chuck Dixon is the author on that. Really good stuff. Okay, keep going.
Sorry, wrong way.
Wrong way. Yeah, keep going. Okay. One genre that Chuck has not yet published in is epic fantasy. So he has a new epic fantasy series starting this fall in November. This Broken World. I've read most of it at this point, and I'm very, very excited. Do we like the little dragon?
Yes, we do.
Do we like the arms?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, you have to think about that. Yeah. All
I
right.
like the yin yang.
That dragon been juicing?
Maybe. I haven't finished it, so maybe. I really like him. I think the arms. It lets you know that this is not your typical dragon. This is not your typical epic fantasy.
I like the font on that one too.
Yeah.
Go back to Larry.
Yeah, the quote from David is great too.
Yeah.
Yeah, the quote from David, you should already have Chuck Gannon on your shelves. If you don't have him there, rectify your oversight immediately.
Bravo.
Which I think in Weber asked me.
All right, Tierra, man, any up?
Bye now. Yeah. So. All right. Keep going. We have to animate this one.
And it's the best cover you've ever done.
It is so over the top.
This is taken from reality.
You
Okay?
posed for it.
Larry and Bridget posed and fantasized.
Yeah,
So did Wendell.
That's right.
Before this was a book cover, this was an actual pose at a book signing. So if you ever get a chance to see a Larry Correa book signing, yes, no, shut up. Yeah. You'll have your chance. I'll give you your chance. So yes, this is the lovely Mrs. Correa over here. That, in all his glory, is Larry. Maybe touched up a hair. Yeah.
Most importantly, you left out Wendell.
No,
Because we haven't
Wendell.
mentioned Wendell.
Oh, yeah, sorry, Wendell, yes, Wendell.
Because it's all about one.
And mentioning the merch, you can now buy a Wendell, okay? If you go to Larry Correa's website, you can buy a small plushy Wendell, which I have, so they're very cute, they're awesome. All right, keep going. What this is a collection of short stories by Larry, who, to his own surprise, because he still thinks of himself as the new guy. This is the second volume of his short stories. So that's out. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going.
Okay.
All right, yes. All right, this is the mommy book, right? The one previous to this was about what it's like to be a dad and a monster hunter. This is what it's like to be a mom and be a monster hunter. Let me just say it's not easy, okay? This was even pre-COVID, not easy being a monster hunter mom. Everybody's favorite character in this series is Mr. That's right. Sarah did a great job. Keep it on going. This is the next one. Yes. Yeah. All right. Do any women here
a lot
feel?
of hate and heat.
Does anybody here feel impressed by this cover?
Nope.
No, not the least bit.
Okay, it's a monster for crying out loud. It's a monster, succubus. She's supposed to be sexy.
No complaint.
I'd be worried if they hadn't drawn her like this.
There we go. All right. So,
I mean, the guy's being impressed. He's one all tied up.
I just went
Thank you.
very much.
Thank you. I'm glad somebody noticed that. I put these touches in for you guys. Okay. So yes, Alan Pollock is the artist on this. And I don't want to say if anybody has any questions about the art or the artist or the process, either here or on the Discord server, please feel free to bother Lydia and she will All right, keep going. Speaking of epic fantasy, we have Destroyer of Worlds just out from Larry during the hideous year of COVID. So if you weren't out in your bookstore and they have missed it, go get it now. Yeah, keep going. Yep. Just out for Valentine's Day because what says love more than giant mecha and pirates. Okay, keep going. New one. This is a new one out from Larry, which is Servants of War. Not precisely giant mecha. These are actually animated golems that require a team of basically tankers to run the golems in an endless World War One that was even more endless in this timeline than it is in our world. So, really, really cool series. A little bit darker than Larry usually does. I think we're ready for some dark. So, yeah.
I think we had a year of darker.
We did, we did, and I suspect we're going to see in the slush pile we're going to see more dark as well. I will say in general that at Baen we like to leaven our grimdark with a little gallows humor. So just relentless grimdark does not work for me, but because that's not really how humans operate, is it?
Taken by COVID.
Yeah. So, all right, Serpent Daughter. New stuff from Dave Butler. Also came out last year, so if you missed it, keep on looking for it. How many people here remember Pfeffer and the Grey Mouser? Yes. All right, how many here remember Jack Vance? Yes. All right, I have a new book for you. This is basically Dave Butler channeling his Planet story itself. So these are great adventures. It's a buddy story. We're humans, correct? Semi-humans. There's an opera singer in peril. What more do you want? Let's keep going. Anyway, because Dave Butler is one of those types that cannot stick to one genre at all. We have here alternate fantasy. These are very much fantasies of place and time, and the place and time here is Depression, Dust Bowl, Utah. And we have a magic worker, a cunning man, and these are his adventures there. Very, very well done.
I started reading the first page, and it starts out with them sitting before like their Catholic priest and the archbishop, not archbishop, but another like religious person, and they're like grilling this guy. So you're a witch? And he's like, no, I'm not. So your mother's a witch? No, she's not. We just
He's
try
a
to help
gangster.
people. Yeah, it's really good. I only got to the first 2 pages before my 2.5-year-old interrupted me, but just the 2 pages was amazing. So yeah, definitely check out that book.
And we have just absolutely gorgeous. What was the question? Comment? What?
Oh, was there a comment?
No.
Oh, okay.
All right. Beautiful, beautiful artwork by.
That's Dan Santos.
It is Dan Santos. Yes, it is. Dan can do things other than urban fantasy. He has beautiful covers for LibertyCon's Guest of Honor, but he also does beautiful covers for us. And I'd like to throw things at him that he hasn't done before. And historical fantasy, again, just beautiful, beautiful work for us. Completely different. David Weber, another one who cannot stick to his lane, right?
Yep.
David Weber is a reader of science fiction fantasy, and he is a consumer of science fiction fantasy, and that's one reason why you will see his comments on our cover, because he likes reading these other books, and he will spontaneously give me cover quotes about authors and books that he likes. So the Gordian Protocol and the Valkyrie Protocol is its sequel. He's writing with a new younger author, Jacob Bullo. Hey Jacob, I'm sure you're out there.
Woo, Jacob!
Woo! You will know him by his bow tie.
Oh, he doesn't wear a bullet.
No, not Bullo.
How would you wear a giant super tank?
How would you wear a giant super tank? We're getting to the giant super tanks later on in the presentation. All right, so who made that snarky comment? You already have a book?
Not yet.
Come get your book. Jacob is independent writer that has been snatched up into the Weberverse, and these are really fun wild adventures where David gets to cut loose, where he doesn't get to cut loose in the Honorverse. So there are time travel, there are multiverse, there are love stories, there are AI, all kinds of things are going on. So lots of fun. All right, let's see what we got next. All right, who can tell me who this is? Very good. All right, there was too many to give a free book. So I had a question earlier. Are there going to be more in the Honorverse? And the answer is heck yes.
Yes.
Heck yes, there will be. Let's see if we have some of the covers coming up.
Yeah, that's not Honorverse. I don't see any other Honorverse.
No, go. You did see Honorverse. Go back to Give Me Liberty Con.
Oh,
Okay. Because the David Weber story in Give Me Liberty Con is an Honorverse story.
Yes, it absolutely
Right?
is.
It is a tree cat story set in the early history of Manticore, and as part of the series that he's writing with Jane Lindskog. And it is also, as it happens, the start of a new novel in that universe. I don't think there would have been a new novel in that universe had it not been for Give Me Liberty Con. So, all right, who has volunteered for this convention and does not have a Give Me Liberty Con book? Lydia?
I don't have a Give Me Liberty Con book.
Oh my God.
I know, I'm terrible.
Half that, I'm sure.
There we go. Who else?
Lydia, Lauren, Ray.
I got two more. Who's that?
Save one for
Scott
Michael
want
Michael.
one? Okay.
My tech guy?
Autograph.
And Scott has one. What?
You ready?
Autograph,
All
please.
Save one for Michael Bright.
right.
Good catch.
All right, those of you who are not in our studio audience may have seen me. I respect books a lot. Every now and then I throw them. So yes, we thank you guys for volunteering at conventions. We did a whole panel at LibertyCon about Give Me LibertyCon, so I won't go on too much about that here, but you can buy it. It's still in print. You can buy it at Amazon. You can buy it from Glennis LeBlanc in missing volume when she comes back up. If you want the ebook, you can still get that. It's too late for the ER if you're SOL there. Next year at In-Person LibertyCon, we will be doing a scavenger hunt. In the back, there's a cast of characters, all the volunteers who were Tuckerized in this book. And we have places for you to get their autographs. And there will be prizes for people who collect the most autographs. All right, keep going. All right, that's not Honorverse either, but it is Path of the Furyverse, not Furryverse, Furyverse. Path of the
That's a different series?
No one tell that to David.
He already saw it.
That's a great subtitle, by the way.
Out of Destruction, Fury is Born. Yes, well, In Fury Born is the name of the expanded Path of the Fury. I personally think it is one of David's best books. And this is the long, so long, planned prequels to that universe. So a lot of fun, moving really fast. Richard Fox is again independent writer, and David has been working with him, and there should be more of these as well. So, yeah. There we go, more Honorverse. To End in Fire. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful David Mattingly cover. Who can tell me why there's a looming face on the back cover of this?
That's cool.
That is the main reason? Yes. You have a book? You already got a book. All right. But the real reason is because the working title of this was called Face of Evil. When David Mattingly was working on the artwork for this, it was called Face of Evil. So it made complete, total thematic sense to have that there. And then we changed the title to End in Fire, which is also a great title. But now the looming evil face doesn't really thematically belong there, but we kept it there because
It's
that's
cool.
right. All right, so yeah, let's see the actual cover. So,
Harry,
what now? Eric, yes, it is David writing with Eric, and we are moving past the events of the last Honor Harrington.
Cool.
Yes, we are starting to unpeel the onion. We are learning more about the Mason alignment and what's behind all of that, and we are going into brand new territory. So I'm very, very, very excited to read it. Anybody who's asking for the ER, as soon as it's ready, it'll be here. I guarantee you. David is a perfectionist. He is finishing the polish on this. So, all right, let's go. Call to Resurrection. Any Andermani fans here? Any Andy fans? Hell yes. All right, Andy fans, come get your book. Yeah.
I got one.
Right, in the back. Come get your book, yes. Mostly because in our fictional version of the fictional Manicoran Empire, I am the Emperor Gustav. So. Call to Resurrection, let's see the cover on that.
Hardly makes sense.
It does, in a weird, almost horrible way. This one will be ready in February, and we will have the ER out on that early, and is part of the Travis Long series. So not only are we getting to see the early Manticore Empire before it's even an empire, we're also getting to see an early version of the Andermani Empire, and they're mess. Yeah. Okay. All right, let's see. What do we got next? All right, that is not David. That is instead a new novel, or actually, it's a novel. Let's see the cover.
I like the one.
You liked it?
Yes, I like it a lot.
Well, come get your book, Randy.
I've already got one.
Well, then never mind. There's a little bit of macho competition, shall we say. Not competition, but a play between Eric Flint and Tom Kidd. Eric, as some of you may know, not always going to deliver manuscript on time. He will deliver. It will get there on time to go to the printer, but it won't necessarily be there on time to go to the artist. In which case, Tom Kidd will make something up and force Eric to put it in the book. Which is only fair. So here we have more symbolic cover. So we have the USE, and we have all of the Pandora's box of things that have come from this people from Grantville being plopped into the middle of the 30 Years' War. So, all right, keep going. Dr. Gribbleflutz. Yes. If ever a man deserved to have a gun held to his head, it would be Dr. Gribbleflutz, the brainchild of Rick Bookbrake and Karen Offord. And you will note that Gribbleflutz here has made iodized salts. So he's not just a charlatan, but he's mostly a charlatan. So it's part of what makes him.
He has no respect for downtown copyright.
No, none whatsoever. And Tom Stoner is another interesting character. It's created, I believe, by Misty Lackey for the universe. And they're having fun with Tom Stoner and his family in this one as well. So basically, if you can fool all the people all the time, should you? Should you really? Yeah.
Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
We know Gribbleflutz's answer, yeah.
I really like the attention to detail of the artist that the footbox hammer is fully topped.
Oh, yeah.
That's one of my pet peeves with a lot of those things.
And you can see his eyes.
Yeah, he's very focused.
Yeah.
It's not quite the sound of a pump shotgun, but I'm sure that.
Yeah.
When it's right next to your ear, it's very, very.
Very young. So these are so much fun. We do have flowcharts, by the way. If you haven't engaged in the 1632 universe and want to, we have good jumping in places for you. All right, keep going. How many people here have been to a Ren Fair? Yeah. Okay. Let's see the cover. So the reason why he looks like he's wearing jeans in Ren Fair garb is because he's wearing jeans in Ren Fair garb. Okay. This novel starts out with, what if the dragon at the Ren Fair were real? Turkey leg ain't gonna cut it.
Yeah.
Did you ever, the district brought to mind the story of the fellow at the Ren Fair who took down a drone with a spear?
Took down a drone with a spear?
He threw a spear and took down a drone, and they made a
Was it Eastern Europe?
homage to him.
And was it Eastern Europe? Well, we need to be doing more of that. What can I do? Let's take that spirit and move forward. Really fun book by Tim Akers, who came to our attention through the Baen Fantasy Adventure Award. So we liked his story. I think he was a runner-up or a winner one year, and we bought this novel from him. And the next one, which will be coming out next year. Yeah. Valhellions, yes. So, Ragnarok won't break. Larry Correa enjoyed these too. So, buckle up, get ready for a great ride. If you were wishing that Larry could be writing more and like more of that kind of romp and engagement with fantasy tropes, we have more for you. Beautiful, beautiful artwork by Todd Lockwood. Todd really likes to paint strong women, and I don't trust her. And I definitely don't trust that bastard. So, all right, keep going. This too, another beautiful, beautiful piece of artwork by Todd Lockwood. Todd had so much fun with this. Every single thing, every single item in this, in his study is also in Todd Lockwood's study. Yes, all of the, this is a still life. Yeah, let's see the cover. Longtime barfly, Aaron Haskins, former military, now working in some field of economics that is too abstruse for me to actually understand. He is writing urban fantasy. It is a kind of thoughtful, fun, we were talking in the consuite earlier, it is the kind of urban fantasy that appeals to people who like military science fiction. The concerns are the same, but also with elves, so yeah. Okay, keep going. This is another gorgeous, gorgeous art by Dominic Harmon, and let's see the cover. New Win Spencer, new Win Spencer, yay! Yes.
When?
Yeah.
Not elaborate joke.
9 months.
It is not an elaborate joke. It is accidentally 9 months.
Is it a novel or a bunch of stories?
It is a novel, brand new novel from Wen. Yeah, very, very excited to get that. I think that Dom really captured the spirit of Tinker in this play. She's an elven princess, but she's also a junkyard rat.
Why does it to Boston? What is that happening?
Why not? Well, the
Why
sequel. Well, I tell you what, when writes it.
When Wen writes
It is we have it under contract, and when she gets around to doing it, she will do it. Wen is very streaky, so Wen writes, yes.
When does the e-arc come out?
Do you have a book?
Yes.
Give it back. No, you don't have to give it back. The e-arc is, it's not precisely like the audio books in that we don't sub-license this, but I do hand over the book to the production department. And the answer is, as soon as the production department gets it ready to be shared with the public, that is when so in other words, they don't come out according to a particular schedule. Sometimes they're as much as 6 months before publication, sometimes as few as 6 days before publication. It just depends on, sometimes on when the author turns it in, sometimes on how the production department is doing, and whether it's backed up.
when you go to the author's house and grab it, probably from.
Well, Wen lives in Hawaii, I can't recommend it. That's gonna be an expensive e-arc.
Yeah, but a great trip.
It will be all these days with masks, but yes, we have new stuff from Wen Spencer. Wen has also got a story in the Nanabolos anthology. So Wen mostly writes urban fantasy and fantasy, but I really like her science fiction short stories. So I'm really happy that we're being able to include those in our anthologies as well. All right, let's keep going. More Tom Kidd. Keep going.
Those colors are great.
Are they not gorgeous? Yeah, well, I mean, we have, you know, a title as evocative as the Library of the Sapphire Wind, you know. Tom does fantastic, gorgeous covers for the 1632 Ring of Fire universe. But every now and then I have to get him to do something else, otherwise he'll just paint himself into a little circle and cry. This is, they call them portal fantasies, right? Where it's a genre now. When I was growing up, it wasn't a genre, now it's this whole thing. You have people from our current world going into a fantasy world. In this fantasy world, the weird animal-headed people that you see on Egyptian hieroglyphs, yeah, no, they're real. They're real. And what happens here is we have three teenagers on a quest. They have questions, they haven't been answered, so they go to the mountaintop and they go through a ritual and they request guidance from the gods. And what the gods send them are the three little old ladies who showed up for the book club on Valentine's Day. They were the only ones who showed up, they had nothing else to do, and they're the ones who popped through the portal. Oddly enough, they've read Portal Fantasy, so they know what to expect. Our teenagers, not so much. Really wonderful, fun, like, very fast-moving fantasy from Jalen's Hole. This is book 1. It is complete in book 2, which will be published. Keep going. Okay. The Aurora Borealis gratefully published 2 months later.
Wow.
So you will be able to get them back to back. I mean, you can't really appreciate this, but basically this is one long painting. So there's a flying ship that they used to go on their quest, and this is basically a portrait of them on the flying ship. So when you put the 2 books back, there'll be wrap covers on both of them. When you put them back to back, you'll be able to see the whole painting.
So how many books long is this ship?
How many books long is the ship?
Is that a Baen fish?
It is not a Baen ship.
Portal is some genre of isekai, and isekai tend to be about 10 volumes.
All right, here we go. Keep going. River zombies. Yes, we love
Yes.
zombies.
So shift?
We're back around to.
Yes, we have worked back around to Ringo and Mike NASA. Keep going. Keep going. This also started out as a short story and as a 2-book.
Yeah.
That is a Ringo short story.
That's a Ringo short story. Also, I'm sad to say, a Mike NASA short story.
Have you ever heard one of his no shit, there I was stories? It makes complete sense.
Right, yeah, absolutely. We have a new book coming out in spring called Into the Real. And we have John's collaborator with us here at this convention. So Lydia, come on up and talk. Yeah, let's do it.
Took John a little while to convince you to do this book series, by the way.
It did.
He worked on you for, what was it, a year, 2 years?
Yeah, I was skeptical.
Skeptical, you, Toni.
I know, shocking, but then I read it and I was blown away.
Oh gosh, well, thank you. That makes my heart beat faster. I went to LibertyCon 30. It was my first LibertyCon last year at the Choo Choo, which breaks my heart, but it is what it is. And I am sitting there at my table with my books, which you guys have seen out in the dealer room, but those are the new covers. My old covers were illustrated. They look a little bit more comic booky, a little bit more middle grade. And so when John Ringo stopped by my table, I'm like, hi. Because I love John Ringo and was absolutely like stunned into silence. But he kind of like picks up my book, kind of flips through it, like, walks away. I'm like, oh, okay, well, I don't know what that was about. And at the end of the weekend, Sunday, I guess it was, he's like, Lydia, I need to talk to you. Let's go on the patio. I'm like, oh no, what did I do? I'm about to get yelled at. And I have some military background, and yeah, whenever they're like, hey, let's go off somewhere, it's always to yell at you because it's praise in public, criticize, or like yell at in private. So as soon as someone says, hey, I need to talk to you about something, I'm immediately like, ugh. So I expected John to start telling me I'd done something horribly wrong, or I was a terrible newbie, or I'd talked too much on a panel or something.
Never.
Yeah. And so he sits down and starts telling me a story about his daughter, and I'm like, what is going on here? And he eventually got around to the point, which was that he wanted his daughter to write a book with him, but his daughter wasn't interested in writing a book, and he needed a female young adult author to write a book with. And I'm like, wait a minute, you mean me? And so like this entire time this is happening, we have pictures that someone took through the window of like they were like hiding out and like peeking at us. And I just have this huge idiotic grin on my face. I'm like, okay, yes. And so like a week later, John sent me his file with what he had, and it was about 30,000 words of like the first couple chapters of this book, which the series is Transdimensional Hunter, and so we were just calling it TDH, and it was, the premise was a 17-year-old girl who's very socially anxious, bullied a lot in school, doesn't like being out. This is set in 2040, by the way, so 20, 30 years in the future. Augmented reality is the big thing, and everybody's got like either the glasses or implants or whatever, and they can make their reality look like whatever they want. And so there's a lot of virtual gaming, and they're really getting into the augmented reality gaming. So this gal only does virtual gaming. She's Larry Correa, old grizzled mercenary online who kicks butt, and her name is whispered. His name, not Larry Correa, I apologize.
Yeah.
Larry Coughlin.
It's totally
No relation.
It's not Larry Correa. No, it's totally not Larry Correa. Larry Coughlin, and it's Larry the Snake Coughlin. And so, the name is whispered in the online, gaming community. Don't tick off, the snake. And so it's this 16-year-old gamer girl. And so that's all she does, and she loves it, and she makes a lot of money that she doesn't tell her mom about because she'd have to file taxes then. And that's what she does, and that's kind of what she always wants to do. And then the designer of her favorite game, called Warmonger, pings her and is like, hey, I want you to beta something for me. It's augmented reality. She's like, wait a minute. That means like outside, right? It's like, it's not that bad. Like, but there's mosquitoes and sunshine and people. So the book is about her getting recruited to beta a video game, an augmented reality game outside where there's people and sunshine, fighting monsters who may not be quite as augmented and virtual as she thinks they are. So, yeah, it's a lot of fun. Kind of Ender's Game meets Pokemon Go meets Monster Hunter. So if you like the sound of that, then April 2022, that's coming out. And are we still trying to get John to approve? Is he dated it in?
No.
Okay, we're still waiting for John to finish his part. So, John, come on, John. Waiting on you. I finished my part months ago, so
Yeah,
we're good.
Yeah.
So thanks for having me, and we're really
Yeah, I'm really excited about this too. I read Lydia's full draft, and like I said, I was blown away. Really, really a lot of fun. I'm excited to see
John's part.
to see the next two books. It's supposed to be two. Romanov Rescue, not quite final. Mark, Harmon? Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so we have to do Romanov. Something very, very different from Into the Real. We are going into the fantasy world, and this is what Tom does best, right?
Tom Cratchman.
Yes. Oh, good catch.
It does say.
Some of us are lucky enough to get the Williamson book.
That's true, right? Yeah, same cover designer. Yes, so this is
But it's an alternate history, so that's an alternate spelling.
alternate spelling of could be the Cyrillic. That's not how that works. So the Romanov Rescue, in a nutshell, is Tom working with other vets of our armed forces. Casey Isdell is currently serving, actually not a vet yet, overseas. She's a helicopter pilot, a major in the Air Force, And Justin Watson is late of the U.S. Army. And Tom is working them like dogs and having a great time with that. So the Romanov rescue is an alternate history where he wondered, the inevitable march of communism. Was it that inevitable? What would it have taken to change Russian history so that we don't get communism in Russia? And this is that story. So yay! All right.
So Tom Kratman says it's November, not September, that it's coming out.
Oh, that's probably right.
Was that Tom Kratman or Tom Kratman?
Yeah, I think we made the slide before we had moved things around. So yeah, probably. All right, let's keep going. Battle Luna. Woo! Yes. Also it came out of a panel at a LibertyCon one year. It was if you had to fight a war on the moon with the technology that we have now, what would it look like? What would the battle for Luna happen? Mike Williamson you were not on that panel.
Right.
However, you are in the book.
Yes.
So come tell us. This is one of my favorite books of the year, by the way. I really, really like the way this turned out. It was worth the wait, yes. Worth the wait.
Yeah, they had a panel on that, and then I think Travis might have come to me or Ringo.
He was probably Travis.
Yeah, and said, yeah, we're going to do Battle Luna. Like, okay, cool. Yeah, it's going to be done on the panel. What panel? Well, it's Near Future SF on the combat on the moon. Okay, cool. And the contracts came out, and I said, so what background do I need for this? What's the it's Near Future combat. You said that. What are the particulars? Oh, just future developments. What kind of future developments, Travis? It can go 47 different ways. And
The stuff we talked about on the panel.
6 months later, so how's everyone's stories coming along? Like, you haven't given me anything, Travis. You just said alien device on the moon. That's all you said. Finally, Tim Zahn did his story. It was amazing, and sent that out. And I was actually at Penzic at the time and wrote in the evenings. Nothing else was. I mean, I could spend hours going down to the blog to party and come back, but I'm old and lazy, and it's easier to sit in my tent and enjoy it. And I was writing, and I'm trying to catch up on the other stories because I haven't read them yet. Also, Travis still owes me the book plates.
They're at the office.
Okay.
They are.
Okay.
Yes.
And so we can have the autographed version. Yeah, so I jumped off what Tim did. Tim is really good at improvising non-lethal weaponry.
Yep.
And really complicated stuff. But I'm good at improvising lethal weaponry.
Why would you design non-lethal weapons? You don't want non-lethal weapons.
Right.
Well, because in this case, the story called for it, because we weren't exactly sure what the end game was to be.
Yeah, it starts with non-lethal weapons, and it gets to lethal weapons when they realize they have to. You don't have a choice. And of course, they don't have stuff to start with. They have to improvise everything from their labs, their shops, everything else, which kind of have some background to it. But, yeah, a lot of fun.
A lot of fun. Casey brought in Josh.
Yeah.
J names. Millennial J names, what can I say? Don't go too far. Josh has a lovely podcast and a former police officer. So he brings a different perspective to armed combat. Both Casey and Josh have dogs on the moon, so yay, yeah. All right, keep going. There's our Travis. Anybody here watching the Secret Skin Watcher Ranch? So much fun! Oh my God, you should totally be watching it. Yes, it is absolutely is it aliens? Could it be aliens? Kind of the story, but it's also Travis saying, "Well, let's test and find out." And they had given Travis a huge budget in this season for shit to test with. So they are doing all kinds of measurements. They've got huge earth-moving machines. So much fun. We know recently that the classified files UFOs have been declassified. We're seeing some of this phenomena here. So if Travis can crack that secret, heck yes. So anyway, lots of fun. Travis is a big star of this show. Let's keep going. Speaking of aliens, this is what, keep going. Yeah, what Tim Powers would do if his answer to what if it's aliens. So this is Tim Powers dealing with UFOs. Question.
Why did the look of the guy change?
Why did the look of the guy change? Because artists are weird. I have no idea who that person was. He had the whole complete manuscript to work with, and I'm like, that is a really awesome portrait of someone who is not in the book.
Or not appearing in this film.
So yeah, good question. Come get your look. Yes, so Tim Powers answering the question of what those damn UFOs really are. Really weird. I am hoping that we get a future podcast where we have Travis and Tim Powers talking together about UFOs and aliens. So you have to look out for that. Keep going. Keep going. Yeah. Okay. Travis and Les couldn't do their usual peripatetic travel around for business in 2020. So they've been working. Yay! Art science fiction, near future novel about what conflict in our solar system in the near future is going to look like. So very excited for this one. Keep going. You cannot keep Les down. Yes.
Les?
Yes. Yes. What was that?
Less is more.
More or less.
You're making her make that face, Scott.
All right, beautiful artwork by Don Bates. It's sort of an old throwbacky kind of feeling. That's kind of a hint. This is a time travel in its way. It is a hard science fiction love story, military science fiction love story. And Les, grew up on Star Trek. This is his, taking all of these inputs in and processing them and making them his own. So new solo novel by Les coming out in October. Let's see, T.C. McCarthy is also writing really weird, really fun military science fiction for us. Keep going, that's the cover. This is the second one in this series. Keep going. Let's see, yeah. No, that was the first one. This is the second one, yeah. Keep going. All right, yes. I'll do it out. All right. How many people here are fans of space opera? Yes, yes, yes. How many people not yet tried the Aiden?
Oh, yeah.
All right, you sir. Is there a Aiden book up here? You have anything? Is there anything left? Yes, sir. But no, yeah. All right, this is a clue. All right, this is a clue. The Land series is fantastic. If you like David Weber, if you like Lois Bujold, and you are going to like Lee and Miller. No novel is exactly the same as another novel. They've been writing this series for a long time. There's lots of books in the series, and it's always fresh and always new and always really cool. This is actually a good jumping in point. It's one of the earlier books. And again, we do have a flow chart on the Baen website. You can find it. Keep going. Now, somebody who mentioned the Constellation 5. Come get a book.
Got one.
Damn it. All right. You guys are too good. David Natalie usually does the mainline covers, but Sam Kennedy's doing also art in this for us as well. Here, let's see the cover. Yeah. These are short stories that fit in between, around, over, under, and related to the novels. So if you like short stories, this is any of these anthologies are a good place to jump in and dip your toe in the water. Creating. I believe we have one or two Lydia novels in the Baen Free Library. Everybody familiar with Baen Free Library? Yes. If not, you have a
First six
card.
free?
Yes. Right now?
First kid is free.
First hit is free, absolutely.
Yeah, we were at a gaming show and somebody started talking about things that were like the Monster Hunter universe, and I was like, oh wait, have I got a book for you?
Good. We have more postcards. If anybody wants a stack of postcards to hand out for the Baen Free Library, we have one here. So keep going. More beautiful David Mattingly artwork in a very different mode. This is for Catherine Sorrow's hard science fiction series, just to remind people that women write hard science fiction as well. This one's not really hard. This is more police procedural, but she does have she was a working physicist for a long time.
Right.
Keep going. Nancy Kress, also really great science fiction novel. You might have missed it because it was flipping 2020. Wonderful, thoughtful, Fred Pohl-esque planet story science fiction. Great stuff. Keep going. All right, this is going to be completely different. This actually is hard science fiction, and the hard science is the science of genetic manipulation. In the future, all right, prepare yourselves for this. In the future, all the dogs are gone. I know. So what are we gonna substitute?
Pigs.
Dragons. Pigs. No, give me your word back.
Raccoon.
Although I know people who have pet pigs, they are cute, and you can eat them just like dogs. No, kidding. Domesticating dragons. Our hero gets his dream job. He gets to work for the company that is at the top of the field, selling dragons for industrial purposes, and now they're working on turning them into house pets as well. All goes really, really well, as you can tell. Keep going. More hard science fiction. And this is from Will McCarthy. This is one that is a little scary to me because it's just a hair too precious. The premise of this one is, what if 4 rich guys control all of humanity's access to space?
What if?
Yeah, just a little scary. Well, the nation states of Earth are not real comfortable with this. So they send operatives up to the space stations that are controlling various things like, say, the sun, to try to find out what the intentions are of these multi-millionaires. Now, one of the multi-millionaires only has women in his colony because he can. So, Rich Man's Sky, this is the first of an intended series, and we will be seeing more from Will McCarthy later. Will, another hard science fiction background, has gotten patents from ideas that have come out of his science fiction books. He's an engineer, he's an entrepreneur, he is the kind of person who is writing what he's living. So, well, not that. Because he just got married again. So I'm thinking probably not that. But Rich Man Scott. Yep. Going Interstellar. We are reprinting Going Interstellar because it's done very nicely. And Les is a great speaker. Keep going. This is the new cover for this. We have commissioned for many of our books teacher's guides. And what they are is intended for homeschoolers and anybody with teenagers who are interested in supplementing their hideous education with actual real stuff. So Going Interstellar is a mixture of science fact and science fiction about different methods of interstellar propulsion that are real science, and stories written about those different methods of interstellar propulsion. Like I said, there's an extensive study guide for this. If you're interested in the study guides, they are free to all, downloadable at Baen.com. We're talking 40, 50 pages, chapter by chapter, vocabulary, Lexile scores. So if you're a teacher or if you're a homeschooler, like I say, we have a range of curricula represented in these books, not just science, but we have one for 1632. We have one for Monster Hunter International, because Monster Hunter International is a book that gets boys to read. So we have a study guide for that. That's the latest one. So keep going. All right, stars, people with the stars. This also came out of the TVIW, the Tennessee Valley Interstellar Workshop, which sounds like a science fiction thing, and basically was for a very long time. It now, however, has morphed into the Interstellar Research Group, which has a meeting coming up in Tucson, open to the public, but partially sponsored by NASA. So this started out as a bunch of guys, physicists and engineers who were interested in actually defining first and then solving the problems of how we get humanity to the next star. And this is going from being, wouldn't it be cool if, to billions of dollars going to making this a reality. We've seen that in my lifetime. Yes, Doug, yes.
We tell people at the IRG symposium, this is how science fiction fans put on a scientific conference.
Yes. Yes. They are great fun. There's lots of different papers. You can see the papers that have been presented. Really wonderful guest speakers. Again, open to the public. This is a science conference that anybody can go to, and I highly encourage anybody who's writing hard science fiction to go and just have your brain expanded. It's in Tucson this year. Go. So, there we go. Keep going. Founder Effect is another anthology that was inspired by the TVIW. We're getting farther and farther away from the hard science, but this is what the first human colony on the next planet will look like, and also how the flawlessly engineered ship that works. Mark, you want to talk a little bit about your?
Bad engineering.
Well, all right. You want to talk about the Mark has a story here, which is talk about yours.
My first Baen story too, actually.
Yeah. Oh, yes, it is. You want to get over there close to the.
I did it the hard way.
Yes.
Yeah, this is speakers Billy Whitby put together. The idea that what happens when the first people move to the stars, and then naturally, many years later, there's all these legends, and how do legends become reality? And that was his basic concept, and he put together a group of authors about wanting to come up with all these legends. And the interesting thing is he didn't have a cohesive plan. It just we all got together and started talking with each other. And he'd hear about one author talking to another author, and then we were talking to other authors, and we realized, oh my God, we have a really cohesive story here in the end. It's completely an accident, but that's the way it turned out. And I ended up being lucky enough that I had the idea of one of the stories was the first spaceship that goes is basically empty. It's all this colonization equipment, but there's still a tiny crew on it. And I'm like, oh, I want to write about that one. And then an hour later, David Weber calls speaker and says, I want to write that one. And he's like, oh, Wonder already got that. So, and David was like, oh, really? Well, let me call Wandry then. And we ended up on the phone, and it was a fanboy moment for me, spending 2 hours spitballing the story I did with David Weber. So we ended up bookending this. I have the beginning and the end story, and David works in with both of those stories. So we co-wrote the last one, and I wrote the first one. He has the follow-up right after that, right?
Yeah.
So our stories are all intermixed, and there's a bunch of really cohesive, fascinating stories about this. And the speaker, after each story, has a little section he calls the Imperial Galactum or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, he writes about this is what the legend actually it says, and this is what it was. So it kind of puts it all together. It's a cohesive story. It's really a fun thing to read. I had a blast writing it.
Oh, yeah. It was great fun to read. And then we should mention, too, that the Encyclopedia Galactica type entries, there's 2 versions. There's one that's fairly straight, and then there's the people's history of the planet, published by Flint Press. So you get competing views of the histories and legends about the founders of the first human colony.
And everything goes from like the guy going, my story about a guy going crazy in the spaceship by himself, to like a Johnny Appleseed kind of story. It runs the gamut.
Yes, yeah. And Dave Butler has bride stealing, so.
Buy more copies.
Keep going. Oh, we had FaceTime more twice because we love Les that much. Keep going. More hard science fiction. Near future, near space. We have a version of the Space Force. Pat Childs, a former Marine, worked in the aerospace industry for many years, now retired, living in Nashville. So he's local to us. and this is his second novel for Baen. Here we have a non-militarized space force running into people who, you know what, they're going to militarize space. So he's having to figure out how to answer these threats when he's, shall we say,
Has suck rules and engagement.
there we go. That's the way to do it. So, great cover by Bob Eggleton. Pico. You ever hear him play Traveler back in the day? Oh, yeah. You weren't born when Traveler came out.
Yes, I played a campaign a couple of years ago.
Come get you a book.
And how many people died in character generation?
My character actually got through character generation amazingly. First time.
All right, well, I have to say, this character does not. This is Mark Miller, who is the inventor of Traveler, the game. Wrote a novel set in in one of the weirder pockets and histories of the Traveler universe. And it's great fun. He is a troubleshooter for the Imperium, and he keeps dying and coming back, and dying and coming back, and dying and coming back. Kind of like a role-playing game. Yeah, okay. The original iteration was nominated for a Grammy. This is the third version of it. I think it's the best, and we published it in 2020. So, world record.
Super tough.
Yes. So what does that look like? It's not a bolo. It's not a bolo. It's not a bolo. These are just super tanks in space that are not bolos.
Did they file a serial number for us all?
Absolutely. Yes, we did. This came out of a post on social media forum that I no longer do because they are terrible. But I posted up a direction from Jim Baen to Keith Laumer when Keith was still alive. And Keith had said, all right, what do you want the next book to be? And Jim had the absolutely perfect quintessential editorial direction to an author. And I posted up this editorial direction, and all of these authors were like, we want to write stories to that editorial direction. And I said, yes. So here we go. David Weber, Larry Carrillo, Wayne Spencer, Kevin Eikenberry, late of the U.S. Army, Patrick Childs, Toni Daniel, Hank Davis, Casey Azell, Christopher Rocchio, Mona Lisa Foster, neuroscientist Rob Hampson, and Lou Berger. Lou Berger was the one who ran with it first, has a really cool story in this. You will notice there's no and more, just because they were all just really great authors, and we want they were enthusiastic about this concept. It was time. It was time for more stories like this. So this one's coming out this summer. Yeah. Keep going.
What was the editorial direction?
I don't remember. It was beautiful. and I have a small history. I have an introduction to that. So you have to buy the book to get the editorial.
It's in the book. Yes.
It is in the book. Oh, all right, here, come here. We'll read it. Come bring it up here. Because it was just gorgeous. I have had it typed out and on a bulletin board in my office, in every office that I've ever had since this, maybe 1989, I think this was. So here we go. I will give it back up. It's an ER, or it's an artist. Okay. So imagine Jim Baen saying this. New novel, absolutely. As I said, only somewhat coherently over the phone. This time, I would like something that hints at the profound erudition possessed by the author. It is driven by a plot imbued with the deepest philosophical insight into the essential tragedy of the human condition as it is, and places it in the most pathetic contrast to what could, in a better world, be our birthright. Something with scope, something with sentient tanks.
Tanks that are not well.
It is. I mean, that could be the editorial direction for every single book. No, but I mean, something with scope, something with sentient tanks. This is
Yes.
Finally, we get to, yay! Thank you, Mike, by the way, thank you for having this.
So this was the follow-up to Freehold Resistance. This does not have the interwoven time frame of the previous anthology, which was very rewarding, but a god-awful amount of work for a bunch of people. So the stories are approximately sequentially in time during the war, both UN point of view and Freehold point of view, professionals, insurgents, some of everything is a mixed bag.
Isn't that quite rare to competent UN troops?
Well, it happens. Because they're drawn from different cultures and different units. I contacted Kevin Anderson, and he was interested, and he had teamed up with Kevin Eikenberry, and they moved something out system, and it's sort of a spin-off of the war. This is where other systems are feeling the repercussions of what's going on. Towards the end, Chris and Dr. Mulrab, Chris is an Air Force colonel, shortly to retire, within a year or two. And they did a great one on command and control and ground level of a very complicated rescue. And the key phrase on that is they contact the rebels and say, look, we got to get these people out. Can we have a truce? Like, sure, we've told all of our recognized forces to stand down. Hold on. What about recognized forces? Well, there's these units out there that didn't like us and they like you even less. And we have no control over them. These are the people who were too ornery for the Freehold. So, story that I wanted for the first one and did not get delivered. So for this one, Jamie Gibson stepped up, and he can now publicly say that he's retired RCMP, because he could never say he was RCMP while he was writing. Yeah. And he's former Canadian military. So it's the ground's eye view of city safety in Jefferson on Renia as the UN forces start landing, and they're going, we've got to do something about this. So, yeah, it's very creative. Jonathan Green did a space habitat, and there's a UN civil ship coming to do a health and safety investigation. And they choose 47 different roles and keep changing roles and alliances and allegiances and sending out radio messages and driving people nuts. It's hilarious. Jess did someone who has a disability, is what they're calling it, who lives alone at a remote space station and is very happy living alone at a remote space station. They come along and they want to socialize this person. Someone said that it was a very accurate portrayal of a socially dysfunctional person, and just sort of. You want to say anything, or are you good there?
It does not go well.
Yeah. What you said?
I have a feeling I'm in this picture and I don't like it.
Holmes and Cordova had done one as we were wrapping up the previous anthology, and said, well, this is something we threw together. But if it's silly, but whatever. I hadn't looked at it. I said, well, I'm working on wrapping this up. Let me wrap this up, and then we're working on the next one. And I looked at it and said, no, that's actually a really entertaining story. And it's two Freehold snipers in a contest to see who can get the furthest or most complicated kill of a UN private. They're only targeting privates because it's devastating to morale when there's a general standing there and the private in front of him gets knocked off. Wait. I'm waiting for him to step back a half step. I think I can beat you by a half meter. Boom! Yeah, my shot! And then there's a UN sniper counter-stalking them. It's lots of fun. This anthology has lots of fun that wasn't in the last one. The last one was pretty grim. This one's got some entertainment to it. Will McCaskey moved down into the island archipelago where a lot of Indonesian settlers were, and there's lots of knives and guns and slashing and cutting and jungle and
You wouldn't know a thing.
animals in the trees.
You wouldn't know a thing about that.
Yeah. And then Justin Watson picked up with the unit you had in the last one. This is a unit that's trying very, very hard to be, a decent professional unit in the middle of a disgusting war, and has its own internal conflicts over that. Jamie DeNote's not on this. She's on the cover, but not on this art.
Yeah.
Jamie DeNote actually almost had a parallel story, which is a complete dirtbag unit, where there's one guy who's trying to be honorable and do the right thing. And just so you can read any of the Freehold's books in any sequence. I try to make them as much as I can stand alone. So if you haven't read the novels, you can still read these. If you've read these, you can read the novels. It doesn't matter.
So the flow chart for this is just going to be a cloud.
Well, this is just, these stories are approximately over.
Yeah, yeah.
All hail the Glow
The
Club.
previous one, they all is that coming up?
I think it is, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
A long time until now is next.
Oh, okay. Well, I say, okay. We'll come back around then.
Yeah, let's go see a long time until now. So now I can't bitch at you about how long it took to turn this in because of David's, which beat you by
Well, this is
days.
the previous book.
Oh, yeah, this is the previous, right? Long time until now. Yeah.
Yeah, it's 10 troops, 2 MRAPs, and all of a sudden they're in the Paleolithic, and that's all they've got. That was,
This is why my SUV is equipped like you would not believe.
I believe it.
Just in case I am transported to the Paleolithic, I can survive most threats.
One of the comments I've made occasionally is that it's awkward going to the range with 2 basic combat loads of ammo for every weapon. Because if the end of the civilization happened on my way home, I'd feel ridiculous with a $3,000 gun and no ammo. Someone would laugh at my corpse. So, how much ammo am I going to need in an emergency, and how much do I want to shoot recreationally? All right, cool, here we go.
How many Black Hawk Downs worth of ammo is that?
How many what?
How many Black Hawk Downs worth of ammo is that?
Right, yeah.
So, different cultures.
Yes. So they're in the Paleolithic, a Neolithic group shows up. Some Romans show up, and they've all been transported. It's a small contingent of East Indians who basically get suborned by the Romans and bring a little bit of tech to it. And they're all trying to survive, and then eventually some future people show up, and they're going, well, we don't know what happened either. But hopefully they'll try and bring us back at some point, and eventually they do. And of course, they have to convince the army. So we were actually lost in time.
Yeah.
No shit, there I was.
Yeah, no shit, there I was. We were in the Stone Age. We got photos to prove it.
All right, let's see the next one. Because, yay.
Yes.
A long time.
So this comes out in December 2012, actually, because time travel. I'm like the last 5 pages.
We believe you, Mike, totally.
No, I mean, you get to the end and it's like, well, I'm gonna tie this up.
Yes, you
I
do.
need to, have
Yes,
some.
you do.
yeah,
Yes,
So there's that handful of bit right at the end.
It was all a dream.
No, it is never all a dream.
Not when you have to recount to the brass for that missing MRAP.
Actually, at some point, I may just do that. Finish a book and then stick it was all a dream, just so Toni can.
Right, because Toni doesn't need less stress in her life.
You just erase that line.
As long as you record the phone call you get. Or the email.
Do we have to go over the tasteful bestiality scene again?
I was just thinking that.
Hey, Ringo had a dream, but then loud.
What was that story?
What story?
For writers, don't go away, we're gonna talk about this, with slight digression into tasteful bestiality. Some writers, we won't name names, but the person who just was standing here was saying, wouldn't it be fun to put something in the book for the editor to cut?
I didn't.
Wouldn't it be funny? I just gotta, in the contract, complete and properly prepared for the press, okay? That's a contract. All right, but put something in there for the editor to cut. That way they won't cut my beautiful things that I don't want to have. Okay? All right, sure, it totally works like that. Now, so these authors, Steve Sterling, said to me, all right, well, what is completely off the table? What do you not want to see from me? And I was like, well, if we could have it not be so rapey, that would be awesome.
Challenge accepted.
Anything else? I'm like, well, if we don't have bestiality on the page, that would be super great too. Okay, no problem. We can write this fantasy story, a portal fantasy, no problem. Well, they sneak in, and it made sense in the plot. The most tasteful bestiality scene you have ever, no pun intended, Soft lighting, seductive.
Wallabies?
I'm not saying wallabies. I believe it was a deer. Stag, what have you? I don't know.
Wait, what book is this?
Wait for the story.
So they turned the book in, and it's by two authors that I know are really good. The book is completed. I've read their stuff before, complete, properly prepared for the press. I have other things that I'm working on, things that I need to do, that I know need to be helped. I haven't read it. Okay? I haven't read it. So they keep calling me and saying, have you read it? I'm like, no, I haven't had a chance to yet. We'll get the check in the mail. I'm sure it's fine. And they're like, okay, good, that's great. But have you read it? Which is odd because usually they don't care. Usually they're just like, have you read it? I want to check. They got their check and they got their check and they got their check, and the book was in production at that point, had left the editorial and gone over to the production side. And they said, so what did you think about that scene? And I'm like, what scene? What scene? And actually at that point I had read the book and I hadn't cut it. I didn't remember I didn't tell them no bestiality. Jeez. So yeah, it went with the book. I mean, it was a nice little, tapes in the woods. But it wasn't against the book. So no, I didn't cut the damn scene. So this is if you want bestiality in your books, you do that. That's what you do.
So what's the title of the book?
They did cut it for the final. It only lives in my memory.
There are people who watch the bestiality scene.
No bestiality in this book.
There is not. There is not.
What is in this book?
Guns. Yes. So there's a different unit that also got displaced from a different effect. Also from the time of a different effect. It does not have the skill set the previous group did. They went native at once. They've been there a long time. They're in pretty sad shape. They have to be recovered. And for reasons of temporal physics, which I'm not clear on, so don't go into, it's easier to use people who they've used before for these transitions. So it's a partial US unit, partial future unit, all kinds of high tech, and they're going back to try and bring these people out. And there's a discussion at one point, it's like, so would it be kinder to just leave them here or shoot them? I mean, they are a mess, and they've got to be brought back, first to the future and then back to our time.
Or not.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Let's keep going. Okay. What else do we do? All right. That's not cool. That's what Jerry pointed out. I just want to mention.
I'm going to crawl here. Under the screen?
We had Dave Freer kneeling to me at one convention. That's bad. That's not good. Yeah, best of Jerry Cordell. Jerry passed away a couple of years ago. His last convention was at Dragon Con, where he was appreciated and loved. And I want to thank you guys for doing that. I want to thank you guys for making this one a national bestseller. Yay, thank you. Keep going. Yeah. Had two books that we published of his. Came out last year. His last two novels that he was working on. The third book in the Legacy of Hero series with Steve Barnes and Larry Niven. If you like hard science fiction, if you like planetary adventure, this is them at their best. Keep going. Janissaries, military science fiction.
Yeah.
If it is not too late, please do nominate this for a Dragon Award. It would mean a lot to the family, but mostly because this is a kick-ass military science fiction.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. So if you read it and you liked it, please do nominate for the Dragon Awards. Yep.
Could you hold 1 minute while I swap battery? Sweet.
Yep. All right. All right, everybody to meditate upon Jerry.
Do you have any more online, or is that it?
I think that's probably it. I think we're close to it.
Are you sure you want to tell us the title of that book?
What?
The one that
I don't remember.
you don't remember.
I don't remember. It was a long time ago.
Who is it by?
It was Steve Sterling and Polly Loss.
No, I'm on the Discord server. People have been demanding to know.
No, I'm done this work.
We have a lot of talented people here. I demand a T-shirt that says, "I'm just here for the tasteful bestiality."
Not a t-shirt, but we definitely do a pin.
Yeah.
If social cards get humanity night tonight, we need that on card.
Absolutely, yes.
Yep, you probably want to consider that for an anthology.
Oh, wow.
Come get your book.
Never speak of it again.
And never speak of it.
Although,
I have to say, Jason Cordova came to me with a proposal for a, all right, Jason Cordova, whose name you've seen here, has come to me with a proposal for an anthology that is invitation only, I'm sorry, sad to say. And with Esther Friesner's blessing, chicks in tank tops. Sort of a blending of the chicks in chainmail with the bolos concept. Yes, that we needed. Yeah.
Chicks in tank tops, I like it.
Chicks in tank tops. If you haven't seen the Chicks in Chainmail series.
I own Chicks and Chainmail.
No, the younger man.
Oh.
Yeah, okay, let's see what else.
Wait, are you talking about Jess?
Oh, yeah, D-Man. Anybody here remember the door side?
Yeah.
I have a new author for you. Yay! Yay.
I've got something more to do for you.
So a new military science fiction novel coming out in January 2022. Reminding me of the door side, updated modern sensibilities. The young author who's writing this, it's not his real name, but really fun. Far future space adventure. Yes.
You need a wish list on your Baen website, like a reminder function where you're like, hey, remind me when this book comes out, notification. Because, we're hearing about this now and it's not on Amazon Writers.
This is why we want people to subscribe to the newsletter, because
Oh,
that
yes, there's
serves
that.
as that little prompt. Yeah. Okay, keep going. Isn't that fun? We had a really dark, deep, serious cover for this originally, and David Booth is the editor for this one. And David was like, "Aw, it's beautiful for another book."
Yes, I agree. This one is perfect.
You like this? Yeah. Every now and then Booth gets it right. So Elizabeth Moon, Alan Dean Foster, Jane Moonskold, Will McCarthy, writing Westerns in space. So much fun. Great stories here. Fun set of people who are playing with this concept. Martin Shoemaker of Today I Am Carrie fame. Yeah. Now, here we go. Sword and Planet. Is an anthology of all original stories edited by Christopher Racchio. You may know Christopher Racchio as a writer for the Empire of the Sun, I believe, series for DAW. He's also an editor for us for 5 years. He's recently retired to write full-time. We're very happy to have him at Baen, and he's continuing to do some anthologies with us. This is one of them. And we used the cover artist, I believe, the European cover artist for the Empire of the Sun series for this anthology. Again, you're going to see some cool new names writing these. Simon Green is one of them. And we will have a new novel by Simon Green out in the fall as well. Keep going. We're at World War IV. Keep going. Because what happens after we're at World War III? That's right. We take it to space.
I'm in that.
You're in that?
I'm in that.
Come talk about it.
Just FYI, we have about 5 to 7 minutes before you can start making room for the next panel to kind of set up. So.
Yep, we absolutely will. Julie, talk fast. Julie's right.
Go Team and more.
Yeah.
So my story in this one is about a werewolf lunar penal colony. Yeah,
That's
that's where they send the bad wolves, is this penal colony on the moon. And aliens invade and decide they want to use the moon as a staging area, and they try to recruit the werewolves to come in on their side because the werewolves have reason to be pissed at humanity for sending them up to the moon. So that's the basic premise.
Sweet, I love it. Yeah, how did, Sean Hazlitt is another one of our overachiever editors, late again in the U.S. Army. He's now a financial advisor and has put together a stellar team of freaky writers.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, I know Sean, so.
That was it.
Yeah. And he asked me to write a thing for this one.
So, yeah, so this one coming out in March next year. All right, let's see what else.
Good.
I think this is the last one. Time Troopers. So this should be the last reprint anthology that we have from our in-house editors, Hank Davis and Christopher Lampio. They're supposed to be reprint anthologies. Somehow new stories keep sneaking in.
I'm shocked.
Yeah, Sarah Hoyt, we try to give more value for money. Sarah Hoyt has a new story in here. I wish Paul Anderson had a new story, and Gene Wolfe too. They don't. So this is about time traveling troops, basically. So it's military science fiction plus time travel. And another really cool cover by Kieran Deanna. All right, I think, is that winding it up? Yep, it is. This was the virtual and real Baen Roadshow. Check out other ones on the YouTube channel. Is that the last of it? It is? All right.